feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to explore and cultivate a vision for my artistic expression. 10 years ago, I was inspired to purchase an easel and some watercolour paints due to my husband's esteem of my drawings, and I haven't looked back. Having worked as a fashion model for over 20 years, I take certain elements of the fashion industry, such as texture, colour, and I bring these into my work. The themes of my work have always been about capturing the moment, often fleeting, so some images are an impression and some are more detailed. When I'm trying to capture that moment, I sit quietly and observe. You can really take in the essence of something this way. I generally make no proofs or prior drawings or sketches. My sketchbooks are often filled with words, actually. I like the immediacy of capturing the moment for what it is. Colour is a huge part of my world, as you can see. And in the catalogue essay which you've been handed out today, the lovely Kate Ellis from Port Jackson Press, she notes that I was told to tone it down at art school. Well, the colour is still alive and well, and I'm always competing with myself to bring colours to life. There's often an emotional connection to colour. They can lift you up, they can make you feel serene or calm. Such a powerful thing. The artworks in Oceanus, this series, started with the sea dragon. One day walking on the beach down at Lawn about 3 years ago, I came across a weedy sea dragon. It had been washed up on the sand and was perfectly preserved. It was such a magnificent find, I carefully packed it up, bringing it back to Melbourne. And I didn't have time to draw it that week, so I put it in a box and took our luggage for the next week to come down to Lawn. And then I noticed it was gone. Hunting around the house, I found its head in our dog's bed. He had eaten it like a tuba. As you can imagine, with one find like this, I was devastated, and I did have tears actually. So, a neighbour at Lawn though had found another specimen, and it must have been a big storm or something like that, and it was washed up on the beach, and I went round and drew to my heart's content, had a nice cup of tea. It was very nice. So, for 3 long years, I've scoured the coastline in the hope of finding another weedy sea dragon, but alas, it's one of those freak things. And a little obsession has come creeping in, so I've now got this obsession about sea dragons, and I have friends collecting them for me, so it's not hard. I thought for this series a selection of other beautiful creatures of the sea would be a great compliment, as well as the most amazing seaweed that we have and the colours and shapes. Terrific. I read more and more about the destruction of the Great Barrier Reef and find myself using images from our travels to the northern Queensland. I've first-hand experienced seeing this amazing place. Almost every year for the last 15, my husband and I have taken our children sailing. Chartered a yacht in the Whitsundays on the Great Barrier Reef. In those 15 years, we've noticed a considerable difference in the clarity of the water, the amount of fish and the vibrancy of the coral. It is diminishing at a worrying rate. I must mention here too that the beach down at Lawn is experiencing a similar occurrence. I don't like to go on about the environment too much, as people tend to switch off, so I'll stop there. But however, I feel this country's most valuable and beautiful resource needs to be protected. So at least with the little I can do to encapsulate some of its beauty, I may preserve and make known something very beautiful we need to protect. So the process of solar plate etching. As you can see, I've got all my gear laid out. I'll show you just one little thing. I've actually prepared some paper, pre-prepared to click on. I thought I'd pick up one. So I'll explain the process a little bit. So first I start with the drawing. And this is on a piece of acetate. So you can see that. So, and it's generally done with something opaque. So I use black ink, which is something like that, a dip pen, and a brush with a border. So I start with my image. Then the solar plate comes clean, obviously, and once it's exposed to the light, it goes hard, so then I can't actually use it. It's a bit like photographic film. So I grab these together, I put them under a sheet of glass, like this, just clamp it down, and expose it in the sun for about 30 seconds. So it's quite quick. I find that quite amazing, actually. I bring then the plate into a bath of warmish water and scrub out where the lines are. So where the black ink is protecting the plate from the sun, keeping the plate jelly-like, and so I then scrub out where the lines are. And then, once that plate is dry, I ink it up, which I'm going to show you. I've mixed up a little bit of ink here. And with my prints, every green you see I've actually mixed, so nothing's ripped out of the tube. So it's actually, these are all unique states or one-off prints, so for me to actually reproduce something and get the exact same colour, very, very difficult. So I've just got a little squidgy here, and I'm going to... So this is that little turtle again. And I'm just pushing the ink down into the lines. And this is a bit like cheesecloth. And I'm just going to rub away the excess. Need more edges. So I'm actually soaking the paper just in water. So these, what will happen when these actually come together, oil, this is oil paint, so when they actually repel each other, they actually stick. That's why the paper's wet. What I will mention here is that not every printmaking process is smooth. You've got, you know, if you don't mix the right colour, if you get ink all over your gloves, if you're using completely the wrong pressure on the press. So every time I do a print, and especially these are plates over the top of the plate, over the top of each other, if one doesn't work, the whole piece of paper goes in. The other thing is I had 10 half-finished prints which were all wet paper, and I go back the next day and I discover that the paper is mouldy. So those prints need to be thrown in the bin. So it's not all easy. So I'm just going to... So my press in my studio is about 10 times bigger than this. And this little mini press, if you were on Facebook and following me, you would have seen that I actually had a bit of a struggle with it this week. And it's fairly new. And so I've just got the plate, the paper that I would print on, and just a backing sheet so I don't get ink on anything. A little bit of felt paper, and this construction. So I have print paper. So there you go, that's the printmaking process. So what you see in a print, for instance, here, this one here, has 10 plates individually inked up and run through the press, just like that. I often will be working on 20 pieces of paper at a time, intuitively working with each image to see which will suit which piece of paper in any given moment. So the paper's always going to be sort of damp, and so there's lots of issues. Please feel free to check out a video if you haven't already. It's on YouTube, and I've got it just running in the background there. It's down at Lawn, my space down there. And those who know me well know I've sped up the footage, but I pretty much work at that space generally. I'd like to thank Port Jackson Press, the lovely Elizabeth and Kathleen, supporting my practice by showing my work here in this wonderful space. I must mention Chris Ingham's work, just on the opposite here, is a great contrast to my own work, and I feel most privileged to be sharing the space with this talented artist. A special thank you to Kate Ellis, who couldn't be here today, for interviewing me and then writing my catalogue that she can take home today. Also, it's such a delight to have someone write about your work. To my husband and family, for also supporting my practice, those artists I know understand the gratitude of being supported in this way. Thanks, my love. To my dear friend and studio partner, Lisa Sewards, and friends Lisa, Melody and Tanya Samuel for our endless talking and mentoring. Without those people in your life, you sort of, you'd be stationary, I think. Once again, thank you so much for all coming and attending. It's just makes my heart full of joy to see such, a great crowd, and to show you my current body of work, Oceanus. So,